The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Tuesday, the 6th day of May, 2025. Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House Lindos, and People's Pharmacy. I'm Jamal Hartman, and Maya Palacio will be with us in a bit to bring you the latest in the news break brought to you by People's. Folks, it's the second day of the traditional work week. I am feeling good. I hope you're feeling good. I hope you're happy and excited about whatever today brings you, or whatever you earn or produce, or however you'd like your day to go. It is another, is it Thankful Thursday or Thankful Tuesday? I think it's Thankful Thursday. It's the TH, right? Anyway, welcome. How's everyone feeling? It's Heritage Month. I know the unofficial start of summer for most people is Bermuda Day, which will be coming up in another couple of weeks. Like, how's everyone feeling? I want to say something before we jump in today, but I know Maya had said the last couple of days, or yesterday and last week, regarding Mother's Day. And I didn't realize, I honestly didn't. I mean, obviously, I haven't lost my mother 3 years ago. How triggering Mother's Day is for people, man. It is. And I think one of the things that I've learned to do over the last few years is try to embrace people who, like, I love Christmas, right? But Christmas was even a hard time for me a couple of years ago, because it was a time when my mom spent her last days. But I think having in our hearts and trying to understand that everyone isn't going to enjoy or embrace what's normal, like all of us. So yeah, it is Mother's Day this weekend. So for those who do celebrate it and will be enjoying it, I hope you having a great week leading up to it. And for those who maybe no longer have the mothers, or it's not a great day for them, I just want to, extend my love to you and comfort, and hopefully you feel better. It's just words, but I hope it makes a difference. Greetings, everyone, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. A good one today as we welcome Keishon Wilson on from Freisenbruch. We're discussing life insurance, one of my favorite topics. Yeah, I'll tell you why later, but it is one of my favorite topics. Well, I'll say it now. I've had people who've lost people recently, and funerals are not cheap. And someone said to me recently, like, look, people in the family are asking everyone to contribute such and such because the funeral's going to cost almost $10,000, like simple things like that, like not burdening your family. So I'm sure Keishon will speak more about that, but it's much more than that. But covering debts and just making sure that, in life, in death, like in life, we should be ensuring that we're not burdening our families. The Daily Plate is a remember when. You are not Bermudian if you don't know this answer. I'm joking, but it is a Bermudian history question, recent history. Don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. The question of the morning. Awesome Tuesday, Jamal. Happy Upcling Mummy's Day to all the ladies. Upcoming, she means. That's from Suzanne Ingham. Question of the morning. We've seen so much about rising costs. I go on LinkedIn and read articles every day. There seems to be rising costs. Just yesterday, I don't know if it's just me or you guys see it too, but whenever I see like something on social media, like basically attached to President Donald Trump, I never know if it's real or not. Like I don't know if it's real. So I have to like go like research and look like, did he really say this? And most of the time he really did say it, but it's just, you don't want to believe some of the things. But anyway, he wants to put tariffs on movies now that are not made in the US. That's something I read this morning. But obviously the tariffs have been a big thing. Before these tariffs even came into place, Bermudians have been, screaming, shouting, complaining or sharing concerns and speaking out and about the rising cost of living in Bermuda. That's been the theme in Bermuda, the rising cost of living in Bermuda. And I think we ask this question in so many different ways. And the question will probably remain the same, but the answers will likely evolve over time. This is your daily discussion brought to you by our friends at Titan Express and Secure Trucking. And your question this morning is, how can Bermudians respond to rising costs? Your answer may be different after the premier's budget. Your answer may be different after finding a new job. Your answer may be different depending on your life situation. Maybe you got married, maybe you have children now. But how can Bermudians respond to rising costs? But also, this is an interesting one. What are some of the most expensive things you spend money on? Obviously, rent or mortgage is going to be up there. I know a lot of people will probably say groceries, but what are some of the most expensive things you spend money on? What are your thoughts? Greetings, TDH family, says Kenton Trott, and greetings to you, brother Kenton. Hope all is well on your end. So, yeah, question of the morning. How can Bermudians respond to rising costs? Again, this is not a conversation that started with President Donald Trump's tariffs. This is something that Bermudians have been talking about for ages. Last week, something called Temu and Shein, or is it Shein or Shein? They have basically announced that they'll be having huge increases in their pricing due to the tariffs, right? Now, those are fast fashion, I think they're referred to as, and fast fashion has traditionally been a way for people to get new clothes and have fashionable things without having to break the bank. Well, that's about to change. But again, how can Bermudians respond to rising costs, and what are some of the most expensive things you spend money on? We've got Kenton Trott says, the things I spend the most money on: mortgage, personal, and then diesel as far as business. Yep, gas will always be in there, right? Gas will always be there. But mortgage, right? And well, who controls the mortgages? The banks. Suzanne Ingham says mortgage and food. Okay, so those are the obvious ones, right? The mortgage and the groceries and the like. Outside of mortgage and groceries, what are some of the other things that you spend the most money on? Like, what are some things that you spend the most money on? Obviously, food and shelter is a necessity. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Balco, utilities. Utilities. That is something that Bermudians for ages, for ages, have been concerned about, right? Belco. What else, audience? What else comes to mind? What else do you think you spend a lot of money on? But also, how can Bermudians, how can you respond to the rising cost? One of the things I had said on this show numerous times, actually, I've said it numerous times, there are solutions to this, and I'll go through some in a few. But it's Terrific Tuesday. Thanks, Miss Bermuda, on Instagram. Terrific Tuesday. Mia Chambray says on Instagram, school tuition, and I hate it. Port Royal was our school of choice, and because it was on the closed list 6 to 7 years ago, and no harem-based school, we felt like private school was the only option. Meanwhile, I can't afford to buy a home. Oh, this precious island that is my home and my love. Oh, Mia, we can relate, my sister. We can relate. What else, audience? How can Bermudians respond to rising costs? Okay, how can we respond? Like, okay, we've got Belco. How can we respond to the Belco prices? Mortgage. How can we respond to the high mortgage? From a diesel, you mentioned gas prices. How can we respond to that? Property maintenance, says Manuela Join. How can we respond to that, Manuela? Car servicing and fuel. How can we respond to that? So everything you're saying, how can we respond to these costs? Private school, Mia Chambray says, how can we respond to it? That's the question. So we know what we spend on. We know what some of the most expensive things are. How can we respond to these rising costs? Ms. Alan Kate Horton says, my Belco bill is only high at Christmas time. Okay. We need to figure out, tell everyone your secrets. How do you keep it low through the year, Ms. Alan Kate? So how do we respond? We know what some of the most expensive things are that we spend money on, right? We've got mortgage, we've got food, we've got Belco, we've got property maintenance, we've got car servicing, right? What other things are some of the most expensive things you spend money on? But also, how can we respond to the rising costs? How can we respond to it? I like what Sean Smith has just said. Pool family resources, right? Now, I'm not joking when I say this. I know some people genuinely don't have great relationships with family. So telling people to sacrifice and, stay with family isn't always an option. Plus, some families just aren't able to do that. But one of the complaints you hear in Bermuda often is that, oh, well, certain groups of people come to Bermuda and they stay in these small homes and then they send the money back to their country. Why don't Bermudians shack up like that? Why I was speaking to someone yesterday, had a late lunch, and they were saying the mentality where we're so quick to get up and get out of our family homes. This person literally stayed with their mother till they were in their 40, right? They own a business that many of you support because they were able to sacrifice and stay at home as long as possible. How many people are willing to let their children stay with them as long as possible? Obviously, the children will have to respect your rules. They'll have to contribute somehow, right? But are we willing to make those sacrifices? That's what I think, when Sean Smith says family resources, that's what it may take. Look, I'm not saying that the government or others can't do anything to reduce the costs. I'm saying if you're out on your own as a single person and you're paying Belco, rent, whatever it is, if you went back home and said, you know what, mom and dad, I'll split these bills with you, right? So now you're going from 2 Belco bills to 1. Instead of paying rent, you give probably a quarter of that to your family to, pay your way. Is that, be honest, audience, am I thinking too fantasy-like? Is this something that you believe can work? Or is this a fantasy? I mean, I don't know. And again, I understand not every family can do this. So I'm not saying that this is an option for everyone. I'm just giving a solution that based on the rising costs, people who have these options, maybe that's something you can consider, right? What else can Bermudians do, though? How can, Sean Smith says, pool family resources. How else can Bermudians respond to rising costs? How else? What are some other things Bermudians can do? Is it tiring yourself out by working 2, 3, 4 jobs? Is it, you know what? I'm not going to take my annual trip this year. Is it, you know what? I can't have that birthday party this year. Let me cut back on my miscellaneous or entertainment by not going out every week. Or is that minimal? Does that not impact the way we live? Ms. Alan Kate Horton is sharing some tips with us. She says, turn off the lights whenever you are not in the room. Use LED bulbs. LED bulbs. Says LED bulbs will help keep your costs low for Belco. Man, I'm not cheap. I'm so frugal. I'd use flashlights. Yes, I would. Yes, I would. If I lived in Bermuda full time, mind you, my father's an electrician, so he always knows ways. You know, he's got a way. But in saying that, not everyone has that. And you know, I was called cheap one time. Let me tell you a story. I was called cheap. I was living in Boston, and it was the coldest like winter. Like that was the year they had the most snowfall they've ever had. It was like January 2015, and I refused to have my heat on all day, man. And they're saying, "Well, you got to keep it on because of the pipes." This and that. You aren't paying my bill, and so someone was visiting me at the time and said that I try to freeze them, and I'm like, "No, I didn't try to freeze you." I said, "See, the great thing about winter and when it's cold, you've got layers you could put on. I have no problem if you wearing a hoodie in my house. You know, put on the hoodie, put on, you know, bundle up." I tell you what, I kept my bill low. Now you all may say, "Oh, Jamal, that's just ridiculous." No, that's what I couldn't afford to have heat on. I'm being real with you. I could not afford to have the heat on. Sometimes it really comes down to living within our means. Again, I'm not saying that we should live a boring life within the confines of our home, but sacrifice, man. Honestly, it's about sacrificing. I think we all can do it. But how badly can, like, sacrifice requires one key ingredient as well: respect. We've got to respect, like, other people's space, and we have to expect that they respect ours. I know people who in the US who rent rooms to their family. Like it's ways to do it. Like, for instance, I caught my cable last year and everyone was laughing at me saying, "You still had cable?" I'm like, I thought everybody did. That was something I didn't need. By show of hands, by the way, how many Bermudians still have cable? Yes or no? In the audience? Audience, do you still have cable? Yes or no? Sean Smith says, if you can't with your family, turn to neighbors and friends. That's a good point. Your family is great if you have a relationship with them. But there may be friends, you know, people you align with, right? Who may be great to partner with and live with and live amongst for us. And it's not a time period. It's not a realistic time period. Maybe a year, right? Charles H. Jefferson II, he says, you just said it, sacrificing is going to be key. Not eating, going out as much, if at all, having friends over and playing games, joining a book club, reconnecting with family and friends differently. Indeed. Indeed, Charles. Indeed. I just don't know, Charles, if all of us have that mentality. But I tell you, man, it's rough out here. Suzanne Ingham says, some have cut all they can. There's nowhere else to cut. How are they supposed to sacrifice another cut? Well, that's why I didn't just say cuts. If you're able, like Charles just said, if you don't have family, if you can sacrifice and live with friends, there are ways to do it. Why is it only okay to consider a roommate when in college? The simple thing this morning, folks, is not telling anyone what to do, but what I want us to start believing is that some of the solutions to the things we face are within all of us. They're within all of us. Because I tell you, if you follow the economy, if you read Forbes or Business Insider, or if you're on LinkedIn reading articles, it's not a pretty picture. That's the reality. All right, I did ask how many people still have cable. Miss Allen Kate Horton says, I do. Burmy Girl 13 says, yes. Kent, KT Tacklin says, yes, I have cable. Suzanne Ingham says, cable's been long gone. Angeline Butler says, yes, I still have the basic cable package in my bedroom. Kenton Trot says, I haven't had cable since 2014. Burmy Girl 13 says, no. So is it yes or no? Do you have cable? We still have cable, says Hadley and Swan. Traveling Trotty says no. And Manuela Jones says no cable. Okay. All right, so let's go through a few more, and then we'll bring Maya Palacio and Fidelio on Newsbreak. Don't forget, we're talking life insurance today, folks. Do us a favor, cost you nothing before I go through the last few comments. If you haven't already, if you appreciate the Daily Hour, if you appreciate the engagement, cost you nothing. Just give us a like, whether you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter X, Instagram. Give us a like, love, follow, share the link with your friends, your family, your colleagues. Sharing the link is very easy to do, whatever platform you're on. Just, it's a button like with that little arrow. You could just share it in your WhatsApp chats. Important community conversations shouldn't be held to ourselves. Manuela John says, I don't know if it's still the same, but there seem to be young persons who moved out of the family home in order to get a legal assessment number in order to have a car. Is a car a necessity in Bermuda? That's another question we need to ask. Is it a necessity? I know we want our independence, but we've got to balance this, folks. We have to figure out what makes more sense for us, right? Ms. Ellen Kate Horton says, send your children to school with a packed lunch. Yeah. Burmy Girl 13 says, ask my children how often I've used that word sacrifice to them over the years. In one ear, out the other. Well, can't say you didn't try. Charles H. Jefferson II says, those of us who grew up in a certain financial bracket didn't do a lot of things we enjoy today. Yeah. Miss Ellen Kate Horton says, many persons that have TV or radios on constantly with no one listening or watching, I cook with gas. Keeps our costs low, folks. This daily discussion was brought to you by our friends at Titan Express and Secure Trucking.
The daily discussion is brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. Visit TitanEXBDA.com, your leading tour and transport provider specializing in Black History tours throughout the island. And SecureBDA.com for all your property management, waste management, residential, and commercial trucking needs. Professional, punctual, and reliable service is our commitment to you.
All right, let's bring Maya Palacio in for the Daily Hour News Break. Don't forget, we've got Keishon Wilson joining us again from Freisenbruch. It's Get Insured. We're going to be talking about life insurance, folks. Please share the conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues, because this is a conversation that everyone needs to be a part of. Don't burden your family in death.
Good morning. Good morning.
Greetings, M to the P. How are you?
You know what? Feeling pretty good this morning. Yourself?
I'm always happy these days. I don't know. I think I just love doing this more and more. I do. It really is the work, folks. I don't want people thinking it's something else, but it really is the work. I really enjoy preparing for these shows and doing them. So I'm good. But I want to ask you, because, I was talking behind your back recently, and someone says, young man, she keeps her costs low. Like, I like the way she talks about thrift. And I was like, yeah, like she really does live a very cost-effective life. Now, that's just what I know about you. But yeah, I was just saying that we was talking about behind your back, saying, man, she does it really well. But I mean, obviously you do give hints on how you keep costs low without giving people advice. You just talk about you. Speak to it, MP. Like you see the conversation. The cost of living's going up everywhere, right? I'm dead serious. I don't know if you heard me earlier. President Donald Trump literally mentioned putting tariffs on movies that are not made in the U.S.
Yeah, I read that this morning. I was
did you? No, man, you saw it. Did you think it was real?
Because of, I can't remember where I read it from, but I knew that source was like a reliable news source. But at the same time, I was just like, hold up, like, let me look into this a little bit more. But honestly, every single time now, there's always something new that's being popped up when it comes to the tariffs, when it comes to the States, China, like everything that's going on. When you talked about Shein and Temu, like moving out the prices and things, I remember them announcing that way further back. And I remember being in Canada, in Toronto, and seeing that Shein's opening like a store inside the mall. And now this is a fast fashion brand that personally, I'm just going to straight up say that I hate, because they don't care for the workers properly. I believe Bermuda's Love came on here and they talked about them in
Yep.
depth as well, about how just horrible and deplorable their company is, how they treat their people and the workers. And then, people keep ordering from them because it's so cheap. But because it's so cheap, it also falls off your skin and rips so easily. So it's not really a brand that I would like support or anything. Like, I definitely say stray away from it. The only time I ever pick up Shein is if it's in the thrift store, because that's normally where it ends up, or the landfill. So in that case, it's like seeing that their prices are going to increase, and like great, and the treatment of the people is probably going to decrease. Like, and the people aren't probably even going to get paid any higher. Like, it's just horrible all around, right? So these new prices adjustments, these tariffs, these putting you down and putting them down, it's something we got to keep an eye on, but it's just going to keep happening at a fast pace. So just be wary of it.
I'm with you. Bermuda's Love changed my mind about the fast. Mind you, I only ordered from Shein once just to see what it was like, and it was like, yep, this is in the trash. I wasted my money.
I literally, whenever
anybody who does it.
Yeah, I mean, because I understand, like, if you cannot afford, then like, like those people are actually going to take care of the clothes, but there's a huge trend of people just ordering a haul just to make videos of it to influence people, and then literally just trashing it immediately or never wearing it again because it was that cheap. Like, to just do a little video and then landfill it. But in connection to what we're talking about in terms of like, saving money and things like that, I think it's interesting. I saw something that said a lot of people think I'm going to just use the phrase, think they're broke. It was like this meme that said, I have one friend struggling to pay rent, another friend who's going to a gym via a Uber Black, and both of them think that they're broke. Right. And it's just like terms of how we live our lives and how we see money. And I know Keishon's going to come and like talk a lot about that as well, because there's a lot of things that sure we need, but a lot of things that we really don't need, but we're influenced too much to get them. And then we also have the egos that get in our way. Like we talk about living with our family and not living with our family. We do see it as a success when we're able to move out on our own. We're able to buy our own new car. Those are things that we post, and we're all like joyous about, like, oh, new place, here are the keys, and then it does make other people feel like maybe they're not going in the right direction in life. But you don't know what's happening behind the scenes when it comes to people's finances, what's actually in their accounts, what they're doing with their money, and what money's there, or what money they have that's actually in debt and it's not actually theirs.
Well, I think in the social media age, I think that let's not act like that doesn't impact it. I think we see people online like fancy living, so on. I tell people all the time, and I'll be very honest with you. I'm very transparent as Maya with this, right? Folks, you may see me in a jacket from Men's Warehouse that's $199. I got that on clearance for $14.99 because it's 2 seasons ago. Like, that's how I shop. I'm very transparent about it. I don't get anything at full price, and I don't really get it unless it's on clearance because I likely don't need it. And even if it's on clearance, that doesn't mean I'm going to get it. So that's how I've been able to respond to them. And people say, "Oh, you look nice." Thanks. But it's not what you think. Trust me.
I'm telling you, like I love whenever someone publishes my outfit, and almost 90% of the time thrifted. Like everything is thrifted. Even this here was 70% off. This vest was definitely thrifted for like maybe $5 or something like that. These headsets that I absolutely love, dollar store, $3.99. Like,
And folks, notice we didn't say Amazon. Notice we didn't say Amazon. There's a reason for that. You can find things. I'm going to pick on Medical House and People's Pharmacy as their sponsors, but if you ever follow them, they have opportunities to get things not at full price. Like People's Pharmacy always, in particular, they do their sale right around Cot Match. I think it's right after. There's still a long summer to go, and they're selling like the those things that people float on. What they're called? You know what I mean?
Floaties?
Yeah, those things, right? All that stuff. But my point is there's opportunities to get stuff where you don't have to break the bank. And one thing I will say, Maya, is I don't think anyone would say, well, she looks horrible today, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know where people get stuff. Stop comparing and looking at people's lives, because as Maya just said, you don't know how much debt people have taken on just to try to impress you, who you don't like and they probably don't like. All right, let's get to the news break.
Yes, let's go to news break. Let's go to news break. All right, so good morning, everyone. This is your Daily Hour News Break brought to you by the good people at People's Pharmacy. Again, a reminder, Mother's Day is coming up. Like, it's very soon, May 11th. So be sure to go there, grab your cards, grab your gifts, grab anything that you believe that your mother would love, because I'm sure it'll be there. All right, so there's been a lot of updates that have previously been made. There was a conference the other day with the Bermuda Police Service. So we're going to go through some bullet point forms of what we need to know within the community right now when it comes to the shooting that happened at Legends. So starting off right now, a 23-year-old man has been arrested in connection to the deadly shooting at Legends nightclub in Sands last weekend. He was taken into custody on Sunday morning under a firearm warrant. Police believe he is one of 4 suspects involved. The 3 others are still in hiding. They suspect one of the 3 men still in hiding was injured. Commissioner says it's a significant injury they believe was made by one of the firearms on the night and may be in need of medical attention. They say 2 motorcycles linked to the shooting have also been recovered. In a major update in the case, the victims of Thursday night's tragedy have now been formally identified. They have been identified as 33-year-old Jasmine Smith and 29-year-old Shaquan Williams. They both lost their lives after gunfire erupted inside the club around 10:30 p.m. on May the 1st. 3 others were injured. Now, at this stage, it's still too early, they say, whether the deceased were the intended targets. As we lean into the investigation, over 100 stop and searches have already been conducted as part of intensified police efforts. Police are asking the public to continue to come forward with information that could help. Again, anyone with information is urged to contact the Crime Stoppers at 800-8477 or visit the community reporting portal at portal.police.bm.
Yeah. Very sad. I just, these are the worst. This is the very worst of our community. I'm grateful that the police, as stated, receiving an outpouring of leads from the general public.
Mm-hmm.
But I want us to be have some empathy in our community. I want to share this real quickly.
Yeah.
I said last week on social media, I had a chat with a close friend last year, and we both had our issues when we were younger. Everybody gets in trouble here and there, but he said something to me when we were at dinner late last year, and it's like, look, man, at this point in my life, I approach everything with peace in my heart and love for others, and it really spoke to me about holding grudges, right? And I don't understand the anger, and it's easy for people. We sit back, we say, oh, well, it's a lack of education. It's, people with no direction and poor parenting and this and that. We may think that, well, that's them over there, not us. Folks, don't wait till we have to have bars on our windows to really understand that a poor education for one is a poor community for all. And I'll leave it at that.
Mm-hmm. In more devastating news that the police also mentioned, around 8:20 a.m. on Monday, May the 6th, police received a report of a person in an unresponsive state on Tribe Road, number 6 in Warwick. So officers were dispatched to the area and upon arrival found the lifeless body of a man. An investigation to the circumstances surrounding the man's death has commenced, but no further information will be provided until next of kin has been notified.
Very sad. Sending the family and community of that gentleman love and comfort at this time.
Indeed. Meanwhile, as news reporters, as myself, a news reporter for this company and for Bermuda, our commitment is to truth and to the people. But we can't say that we do either of them without hearing from the people and the truth that they desire. So connecting is important, especially for our small island community. And I went out to ask how we, the media, can provide better stories in St. George's. So here's your streeters.
I'm Matt Palacio. We're here in the town of St. George's, and I'm going around asking people one simple question. What is it that local media is not covering that you wish they were covering more? Let's go.
I believe that local media doesn't cover and support the local artists in Bermuda.
What happens to government money, the money that we put into the kitty every month? Where's it going?
The successes of Bermuda, things that people are doing right, the youth are doing right, that is not being advertised enough or put out there to give encouragement to everybody else for the things that we are having to deal with.
Okay, so I play for the Bermuda National Junior Men's Team, and I feel like we don't really get the same representation that football does. It's still a growing sport, basketball, but Yeah, I just feel like it'd be nice to get some more like representation. They get fully funded trips and everything. We just don't get as much, exposure and all that.
Violence. Since I heard a lot of it in Bermuda participants. What happened at the weekend? I think we could have some more coverage over that.
How has Bermuda changed, I guess, for you from growing up to now? What have you noticed as being a big difference, especially when it comes to violence?
We used to fight, but then the next day we're friends again. But it don't seem to be that's what's happening in these days now. Everybody's got a gun now, so they want to, just retaliate on everything.
Wages, like the minimum wage for people working, and then the amount of foreigners they bring here for work. Because if you look around, I mean, on this square, it's nothing but foreigners down there working. So that's my thing on it. I think that foreigners should be not depleted, but lessened.
We need to cover more people that are struggling and living on the street, and families that need help financially. Families that are struggling, working hard, 2 and 3 jobs, and still just about to make ends meet. We need to cover that more, in my opinion. And especially homelessness. We have too many people that are homeless in this island, sleeping on doorways and in their cars and stuff. That needs to be addressed. There's no way that we should have this many homeless people in this island.
Good news. What is going on in Bermuda that's good? We hear about what's wrong. We never hear what's good. I miss hearing good news.
Received. Honestly, my only response to that is I've received it, because I think we have a responsibility to respond to what the community wants. And while they differed, that young gentleman, I was going to say what sport, but it's basketball. In fairness, you do a great job of covering a lot of sports beyond football and cricket, which would ignore them. Gentleman who said homelessness, the older man who said, the violence. I'm taking a deeper look at it and so on. I appreciate it. Look, here's the challenge we have in Bermuda with news and community. There are only so many Bermudian journalists. And as Maya will tell you, we are trying our best to kind of get people interested in wanting to do this. Also, I think what people need to understand, not every journalist is going to be an investigative journalist. That's not all journalism is, but that information is received because they are right. There are many things, good things happening we can cover, but there are also things that we need to highlight so that we understand that the way we live is not the way everyone lives. And it's important that we know how people around us live so that we can play our part in creating a better society. Go ahead.
Indeed. I will say, just listening into what the community was talking about, it's like, we do need more of us just doing original stories and following the passions that we actually have, whatever that might be, versus what we're told to do, depending on where you align with whatever company. But original pieces that really speak to your soul and your passion would definitely go a long way and speak to the people more. All right, closing out for your news break this morning, let's go into the weather. So it's looking like some sunny periods today, so shouldn't be as cloudy or rainy as yesterday, and we should get some more breaks, so some good sunshine coming out there. And we got a high of 76 today.
All righty. It is Global Travel Advisor Day, and also in the U.S., National Tourism Day. Well, Global Travel Advisor, just one quick question of everyone before we go to break. Do you all still use a travel advisor, meaning a travel agent? Yes or no? Do you know what a travel agent is, Maya?
Don't do that to me. Yes, but sometimes I do. I guess it depends on the trip, but I haven't in a while.
Okay. I used one for Kenya because that was pretty far. So if I'm going far, I definitely use a travel agent. But
yeah.
I think they have a role. Karen Simmons says yes. NTS says no. Manuela Jones says no. I'll tell you, a travel agent is your advocate, folks. It's like having a lawyer or a legal representative when you travel far and somewhere you're not going. But majority of the audience has said no. So Alan Kate Horton says no travel agent, no Michelle. You know what?
I don't.
This is an opportunity for a travel agent to come and be a part of the Daily Hour. We're going to use this information to talk to them. Tell them why you're still relevant. Maya, have a wonderful day. We'll talk soon.
You too. Talk soon.
All righty, folks, don't go anywhere. We will have our very special guest, Keishon Wilson, coming up, talking about life insurance. You don't want to miss this conversation because it's valid, it's important, it's interesting, and it's necessary. We'll be back in a few.
People's ACW, located at King Edward VII Memorial Hospital, carries over-the-counter medicines, toys, cards, and even toiletries. Our knowledgeable staff are there whether you're at emergency, visiting family, or a member of BHB staff, to show you our best even when you're feeling your worst. People's ACW, we're here for you.
Hi there, welcome to Medical House. We're located at number 6 Bakery Lane. I can't wait to show you all of the great stuff that we carry. Come on inside, let's see. Long days, long shifts, you no longer have to endure comfortable underwear. Designed by nurses, we now offer premium undergarments by Swoop that are unique, fun, comfortable, and functional. The only underwear you'll ever want to wear. Who says high-quality functional products can't be stylish and comfortable at the same time?
See it all at our new expanded location on Bakery Lane.
Attention home renovators and design lovers, your dream space starts here. The brand new Kohler retail showroom at BAC Group is now open, bringing you up to 35% savings on all Kohler products at U.S. manufacturer suggested retail prices. That means no extra fees, no freight, no wharfage, no duty, no document processing fees, just pure cutting-edge Kohler design at unbeatable value. From sleek kitchen and bathroom faucets, vanities, toilets, to statement sinks, walking tubs, and spa-worthy bathtubs, BAC brings innovation and luxury within reach. Visit the BAC showroom on Mill Creek Road today for style, quality, no surprises. Just color from BAC.
Discover Drop It, your go-to grocery delivery. Browse and select from a wide range of groceries, from fresh produce to daily essentials. Our friendly drivers deliver fresh groceries to your door fast, saving you time and hassle. With Drop It, you get fresh groceries delivered fast so you can focus on what really matters. Drop It, freshness at your doorstep, delivered to your door with Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
Dreaming of expanding your business? With BDC's Loan Guarantee Program, we support your ambitions. Get up to 75% guarantee on bank or credit union loans up to $300,000. Just your vision and our support. Apply today and unlock new business opportunities. BDC, Bermuda Business starts here.
Alrighty, welcome back to the big show. I'm Jamel Hartman. It's the Daily Hour, brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House, Lindo's, and People's Pharmacy. Folks, don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Without further ado, let's bring in our very special guest for the day. He's been on here before, and we're happy to welcome him back to speak about what I believe is an extremely necessary topic. And audience, before we bring him in, do me that huge favor. If you haven't already, whether you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, X, or Instagram, make sure you like, love, follow, and most of all, share the link with your family, friends, and colleagues. Trust me when I say your family, because just this past week, I had someone who spoke about why their family should have had life insurance due to everyone being asked to contribute just to cover the cost of the funeral. Let's give a warm TDH welcome to Keishon Wilson from Freisenbruch. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you, good sir?
Good, Jamal. Once again, thank you for allowing me to share this space with you. To talk
No problem.
About, like you say, a very necessary topic.
No problem. But before we get into the topic, I gotta ask you, because you know you're on the younger end. Do you still use a travel agent?
I know I don't. I'm not actually a frequent flyer like that. Like if I do have to travel, it's England that I would go to, and I would just go on British Airways and fly because I have family out there I would go to see.
Okay.
I have big vacation spots on my bucket list to do right now. Like you say, Bermuda's very expensive. Sacrifices do have to be made.
Yes,
I
sir.
do not need to be in Santorini drinking margaritas right now.
This sounds like a responsible fella, folks. 'Cause, my word, I like that. That's a great way to start a conversation about life insurance. Actually, it really is. But Keishon, just remind people a bit about your background. Obviously, you've been on before, but someone may be new today. Remind them a bit about your background and what it is that you do.
So yes, currently I am the Senior Life and Pension Sales Advisor at Freisenbruch. I do specialize in planning for success, whether that be creating the success that you want or protecting everything that you're trying to achieve in life yourself. So that is through the pension products that we offer and the life insurance products that we have available.
And, I've spoken about a situation literally within the last week where a Bermudian said to me, man, I was just asked, everyone in the family was asked to contribute to try to, pay off a funeral and the family and the like. But obviously we'll get through all of that. But why is it so important that people get life insurance?
Well, protection has to be at the forefront of anything that you deem valuable. The cost associated with whatever it is you're trying to achieve needs to be protected if you deem that to be valuable. Depending on the person, whose responsibility do you think it should be to cover your last expenses or cover the debts and bits and pieces that you have going on in your life? And if the answer is someone outside of yourself, then you should be able to have a conversation with those people to say, hey, look, here's a cost-effective way of doing what I think is your responsibility. So it's a conversation that definitely needs to be had by everyone. And, I'm happy to do that.
Well, and speak to some of the basic needs that people need protection from.
So primarily, it's always going to be replacement of income. So if you think, you work, you make X amount of dollars a year, you have these plans for your life, you want to put your kids through school, you want to purchase that dream home, you want to basically create a life that you dream of, essentially. All of those goals and aspirations die immediately if you do. So if you still want to see your kids get put through school, or you still want to see that mortgage get paid off, if you still want everything that you're trying to achieve income-wise for your dependent to depend on your income, if you still want that to be achieved upon death, those are the basic needs that you need to consider when discussing a life insurance product.
Interesting. And I would ask the audience before I ask you this next question. And you don't have to share, obviously it's personal, but because we're a community, we have community conversations, and you all refer to us as TDH family. I say community because you don't really like me or with me in your space like that. But in saying that, I want to just ask the audience, if you're willing to share, how many of you actually have life insurance? Just a yes or no. And it's, again, a life insurance isn't a pension plan, right? We've spoken about that before. So how many actually have a life insurance? I'd like to know if you're willing to share. But Keishon, what difference do you notice with the people you meet who purchase the product versus those who don't?
The biggest one is experience. There's a lot of people who have experienced what not having life insurance does if their parents or loved ones die, and they're left with having to foot the bill of things that just appeared in their lap, and they don't know where they're going to get the money come from. So there's experience. Another one is knowledge. There are a lot of people who have taken the time to understand the product, get to know the product and its purpose. So they are going to be more proactive in protecting the things that they need to, so that their family do not fall victim to the burdens that are associated with their death. Those are the ones who will technically walk inside my door, do what they have to do, and leave without having to get into too much. When it comes to people who don't have experience, so they've never had to feel the pain of a loved one's death, or maybe they don't have the information, or maybe they have been misinformed about what the product is and what its purpose is, they haven't really felt enough pain to prioritize, getting things like this done. So that's where a deeper conversation has to be had between me and those people to kind of get them to grasp the concept of why this is important. Indeed.
Audience, again, I'll get to your questions. We've got some questions coming from the audience. based on some of the responses, audience, keep it coming if you're willing to share whether you or not you have life insurance. Suzanne Ingham said no. Charles H. Jefferson II said yes. Nicole Walker says yes for myself and my parents. And Pamela Wade says yes. Quick question before we move on. Is it normal for people to have more than one life insurance policy? Like you can have more than one pension plan, or?
Yeah, definitely. You know, people have different needs. So for example, if we look at income replacement, picture yourself, you earn, we're just going to use numbers, for example, you know, let's say you earn $50,000 a year. Everything that you are trying to achieve depends on that income coming in continuously for you to upkeep what it is you're trying to achieve. If you were to die and you still want your income to do what it was going to do while you was alive, life insurance will replace your income. That's a primary need. A secondary need, which still ties into income replacement, is a mortgage. You know, when you go to the bank and you sign up for that 30-year mortgage for X amount of money, if you die before paying it off, are your kids going to be in a position to continue to pay the mortgage off? If not, they may have to sell the house back to the bank. So debt, liabilities, like a mortgage, is a need. Your funeral. You know, we know funerals are expensive. Like you said, people do fundraise for potlucks and this, that, and the other, and GoFundMe pages to pay for a funeral. If you know that you're going to die, which is something everyone knows they're going to do at some point, why not plan for a more cost-effective way to pay for your last expenses by prioritizing it now? Some people say, hey, it's not my responsibility to pay for my funeral, it's my children. So have a conversation with your children then. If you really believe that, you should be able to have a conversation with your children and say, hey, this is more cost effective.
Man, that's interesting. You obviously have these conversations, right? What are the main reasons if you're in a meeting with someone and they say, well, I don't want it, they don't want to get it? What are some of the main reasons they don't want life insurance?
So a lot of people feel like they can do it on their own. And sometimes the answer to that is you probably can create everything that you would need for last expenses on your own. But the question is, what happens if you suddenly passed away tomorrow? You know, where does everything you was going to do come from? So it's also it's misinformation and a lack of information. You know, and again, not having the pain to prioritize it, not having the experience to see, you know what, this is a big deal and it has to be done sooner rather than later. I think another thing is definitely affordability. Sometimes it doesn't fall into people's budget. But I do ask these people the same questions that you've been touching on today. You know, what is it that you spend the most money on that you do not need to spend that money on? Is there sacrifices that can be made? You know, I see a lot of people driving nice cars in Bermuda. And what a lot of people don't realize is when you sign up to purchase that nice car, you're not only signing up to pay for the car or have debt with the bank for the car to pay the loan off, you're also signing up for that huge licensing bill at TCD every year. You're also signing up for that huge insurance bill with the insurance company every year on your birthday. And you're still going to try to throw a birthday party and do this and that and the other, when there's better ways we could go about being cost effective to create the life we want as well as protect it.
Interesting. A lot of things for people to consider. Do you ever come across clients who maybe regretted not getting life insurance, or who can learn from others who regret not getting life insurance?
Yes, definitely. Those are some of the tougher conversations to have. And like I said last time, life insurance is not a right, it is a privilege. So, you know, people who get declined is the toughest conversation to have. You know, like, man, you know, when I was in better shape or in better health, I should have considered it. It would have been cheaper. Or people who get older and start to envision end of life. Sometimes the cost associated may be a little bit too high because they're too old, and they just wish they had prioritized it while they were younger, healthy, and it was less expensive.
Yeah, you definitely answered one of the questions Karen Simmons had. Is there any circumstance that you can be denied life insurance? You kind of named one, but are there some other things that maybe keep someone from getting life insurance?
Yeah, definitely. So is definitely linked to mortality. So the older you are, the higher the risk is that you can pass. The less healthier you are. So health conditions, if you have heart conditions, things like diabetes, people who have had cancer, basically anything that would deem your life a risk can prevent you from qualifying for life insurance. Also, your age, sometimes associated with these things, can prevent you from getting life insurance. So it's important to, prioritize and be proactive and not reactive. Okay, I'm old now. Let's try to prioritize this. Maybe you don't have the funds to do so at that time, or the doctor told me I'm sick. Let's try to prioritize this. Okay, maybe it's too late because you might not qualify due to the illness.
I got a couple questions from the audience before we move on. And audience, keep your questions coming. Charles H. Jeffs II, he says, is there an age limit to getting life insurance? Are premiums lower if you get it at a young age? And Manuela John has the same question. Is there an age limit to get life insurance?
Yes. So for term insurance, which is the most cost-effective way to protect one's needs, the age limit is age 85. The minimum term you can get is 5 years. So the last time that you would be able to sign up for that is age 79 or 80. And the maximum you'd be able to get at that point is a 5-year term policy. There isn't an age limit on whole of life. It goes up to age 100. However, being a 75, 80-year-old person trying to purchase a whole of life product is very expensive. It's not something that most people would even want to get. So yes and no, but far better to consider this way before you get too old to do it.
I know you mentioned people's health. I know in the United States, and correct me if I'm wrong, audience, because I know some of you are very experienced working in the US. You can be denied stuff if you're a cigarette smoker, for instance. Is this the same with life insurance in Bermuda? If they ask you your habits and you say, yes, I am a smoker or I am a drinker, like, does that impact you greatly? And could you be denied for your habits?
Yes. So there's a thing on life insurance called a smoker rating. So smokers are immediately rated and pay more than the normal person for a life insurance product. So smoking isn't an automatic decline. But if you have smoking along with something like a heart condition, that could be a decline. The heart condition on its own may just be a rating on its own, and you can still have the product. Or the smoking itself is the rating, you can have the product. But if you have smoking and a heart problem and something else associated, accumulation of things could decline you from having the product. So there's no one size fits all with these things. We have to get you qualified. But yes, they do have an effect on the price you pay or whether you qualify or not.
Got you. Okay. Let's talk about the process now. How should someone go about getting life insurance?
It is a needs-based product. So we have touched on some of the needs associated, like income replacement primarily. How you should go about doing it is having a conversation with someone like myself, so we can dig into exactly what it is you have going on and how it would fit in your life and why you should consider it, so we can tailor it to your needs. So that's through conversation. Hey, I have this, I have 2 kids. I would like them to have this type of education. I would like to create this for my life. I would like to pay off this mortgage if the worst was to happen. These are the conversations that we would need to have to determine how it would best fit and go from there, basically tailoring it to what it is you have going on through conversation.
Indeed. Speak about the options that are available as far as life insurance at Freisenbruch. Like, explain any differences to the options. You kind of did that already with the age, and suggest how they may benefit different people depending on their circumstances.
Yes. So term insurance is probably the primary tool most people should consider. So we have term insurance and whole of life insurance. Term insurance is one of the best protection tools that you could get to protect one's needs. So it is the most cost-effective way to take everything that you're trying to achieve in life and put an umbrella on it to make sure that it happens if the worst were to happen to you. So that's the protective tool that we have. Whole of life is more comprehensive and permanent because term is temporary. It only covers what you need while you need it. Whole of life is more comprehensive and more permanent. It lasts as long as you live. And in my opinion, is more of a creation-based tool, which basically takes a portion of your wealth or a portion of your income and turns it into something better upon death. So if we look at, for example, a funeral costs $10,000-$15,000 depending on the person. It would take $10,000 or $15,000 to save $10,000 or $15,000. Why not spend less than that to create 10, 15 or access of 10, 15 to pay for last expenses? And you're transferring wealth in a much more cost-effective way upon death. So you're creating more from less at the end of the day versus term insurance. You're protecting everything that it is that you're trying to achieve. They do work together sometimes. So you would have a whole of life to create everything that you want to create by living a fruitful life. And then you have the term insurance that protects that goal that you have should the worst happen to you and you don't live to achieve it. So those are the two, basically the two products and how they are used when you're thinking about life insurance.
All righty. Got another question from the audience before we wrap it up. Charles H. Jeffs II, he says, many companies in the US have a life insurance policy for all employees where your beneficiaries will get a year's salary. Is that a thing in Bermuda?
Yes, a lot of companies, especially reinsurance companies, more of the higher end upscale companies do have what's called group life, where they will protect you for, say, sometimes a year, sometimes 2 years or more of your annual salary. And it's not a bad thing to have. You know, it comes out of your paycheck if the rest were to happen. Depending on the company, your family would get some benefits. The company sometimes will take some of those benefits. And it's a deep one, the group life insurance. And another thing with group life is if you leave the company, the insurance no longer exists. So it's a nice added extra to have for a company benefit, but it's not something that I would bank on or tell you to bank on when it comes to your personal affairs. Definitely, because that dies once you leave the company or once you retire.
Got it. Okay. How much coverage does someone like anyone need?
It depends. So for example, if we look at someone who, let's say you make $50,000 a year, in 10 years, that's going to add up to, what's that, $500,000? If you want to protect your income for the next 10 years and you make $50K a year, you should be looking at least $500,000 in coverage to protect what it is that you're going to achieve. If you have that as well as a $500,000 mortgage to go with your $50,000 income, then maybe you need to look at, okay, protecting my income for the next 10 years, as well as protecting my mortgage for the next, however long your mortgage is. So maybe it's $1 million that you would need. It really depends on the person. Life Insurance Market Research Association says that someone needs at the very least 7 to 10 years of their annual income in coverage to be comprehensively covered for everything that they're trying to achieve income-wise. So that's the research that's been done based on, you know, history of death claims, things that are associated with someone dying. But it's not that black and white. You know, a conversation needs to be had to see what you have going on, what needs to be protected, and the best way to do so.
Indeed. Thank you for that. Just remind people how they can get in touch with you, reach out to Freisenbruch to learn more and to get their policy.
Yes. So I'm not sure. I've just seen the banner there. I'm not sure if my number is there. But, you know, Freisenbruch, my name is Keishon Wilson. My mobile number is the best way to contact me in case I'm not in the office. So that is 535-6352. I'm not sure if we could, you know,
352.
Post that somewhere so that they can get in contact. That number that you see on the bottom of the screen is also a good number to get me on, 4616, it does get redirected to my cell. If I'm out of the office, I will be able to answer your call. Or you could email me at kwilson@fmgroup.bm.
All right.
kwilson@fmgroup.bm. It's a conversation that I love to have. I'm keen to get this information out there, especially to the community in Bermuda. There's a lack of information, and I think with the right information, we can make better decisions. You know, decisions that are based on good information are usually the best decisions to make. So, I'm happy to help.
No, these conversations are helpful. I really do appreciate you stopping by in Freisenbruch for having these conversations with our audience. Definitely, audience, if you or someone you know would like to learn more, please reach out, get in touch. Trust me, I got new life insurance last year, and it was only after, I couldn't get it with Freisenbruch because they told me I have a U.S. passport, but you get my point. You can. But I got it because of these conversations, and I would encourage anyone to reach out. Just reach out, have the conversation. I'll tell you what, Keishon made me a believer if I never heard of life insurance this morning because he's so well versed on the topic, as is everyone from Freisenbruch. So thanks again, Keishon. Thanks to Freisenbruch. Thank you all for trusting our platform and engaging our audience, and we'll definitely be in touch soon. I did hear that you play cricket. Someone said in the audience, so all the best in your cricket season as well.
Thank you. Got a duck on Sunday, so I'm gonna go training this weekend. Stick with this weekend.
All right, have a good one, brother.
You too, man. Have a good one.
All right, Keishon Wilson, folks. If you appreciated the conversation, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share the conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. Do not go anywhere, because after this break, we have a Remember When Bermuda trivia question today. Stick with us.
April is National Child Abuse Prevention Month. Children depend on every single caring adult in our community to make sure they are safe from sexual harm. Keeping them safe not just in April, but every day. Whether you're a parent, a guardian, a grandparent, an aunt, an uncle, or a caregiver, we ask that you take just 3 hours out of your busy schedule to learn what you can do to make sure the precious children in your life are protected. They are worth it. Join the SCARS certified adults by simply visiting our website to sign up for a free SCARS training session. Learn about online and body safety, how to protect them, and how to respond if they are harmed. This information is vital to their well-being and their future. Because they are children, it is our responsibility, Bermuda, to protect them. Visit scarsbermuda.com and learn what you can do to help the child in your life stay safe.
Looking for the best care for your pets? Nova's Ark Feed and Supply has everything you need, from top quality foods to toys and supplies. We've got it all. Join our frequent buyer program and earn rewards every time you shop. Plus, we've been awarded the Clever Customer Initiative program for helping you save more. And don't forget, we open an hour early on Saturdays so you can get a head start on your pet care. Visit us today or shop online for easy pickup or delivery. Your pets will thank you.
BAC's new color showroom is now open. Throughout April, for every $50 spent, your name will be entered to win great raffle prizes. Come learn from BAC, where luxury meets affordability.
Alrighty, welcome back to the Big Show. Thanks again to Keishon Wilson and Freisenbruch, another segment of Get Insured. Folks, again, do us a big favor if you appreciated that conversation, whether you're on Facebook, Twitter X, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. Make sure you give us a like, love, follow, share the link with your friends, your family, your colleagues. Share it with people you know who will benefit from these important community conversations. Thanks again to the BAC group of companies, Medical House Lindos, and People's Pharmacy for ensuring that we can have these conversations with you on a regular basis. It is time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Bermuda Trivia, now available at stores throughout Bermuda. Follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter X, and TikTok to find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. All right, audience, are you ready? It's a Remember When. This happened. I'm going to tell you when it happened. All right. It happened in 2007. Who was the first person recorded to have won the Bermuda Day Half Marathon at the 13.1 mile mark. No one got the answer. It was not Chris Estwanek. The first person to have won the Bermuda Day Half Marathon at 13.1 in 2007 was, in fact, as Karen Simmons said, Larry Marshall. We're going to put a junior there. Larry Marshall Jr. in 2007. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, very interesting. Things you can learn when you want to find things out. I did not realize that. He never told me that. You know, he doesn't tell us stuff. All right, folks. Thank you. I appreciate you all sticking around, honestly, and I appreciate your engagement. Again, if you know anyone, reach out. But I want to touch on something. You know, we spoke about this morning, what each of us can do, you know, to help ourselves. What can Bermudians do in response to rising costs? And look, I don't think none of us have the answer for everyone, right? The truth is that we all live different lifestyles. We all have different circumstances. But I'm sure for all able-bodied people, there's an opportunity for us to do something differently that can impact or improve our way of living despite the rising cost in Bermuda. We have to figure out what that is for us as individuals, each and every one of us. There is a way. It's a matter of whether or not we want or we can make the sacrifices. As far as the conversation with Keishon Wilson, I am so grateful to Freisenbruch and Keishon and everyone who comes on from Freisenbruch for trusting this platform and engaging with all of you and educating us along the way and explaining to us in depth why what they do makes so much sense for all of us. Again, I was inspired to get my life insurance policy last year because of these conversations. If you are a Bermudian without US citizenship, if you are a Bermudian, I would encourage you, if you don't already, give them a call. And if you do already, you can still get additional life insurance policies. Check them out. Give them a shout. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's time for the Daily Inspiration. And this one is from Les Brown. Les Brown. Quote, "You are never too old to set another goal or dream a new dream." End quote. Folks, don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Thanks again to our partners, the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House Lindos, and People's Pharmacy, for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. I'm Jamal Hartman. Please do make it a safe and a great day. We are out. Peace.